Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Break at the Apex podcast. And I am hyped up because we just had the best race of the season. You will hear that in the race ratings, and I will not forget again. Guys, Silverstone. Graham, I'm going to come to you first. Just in a one sentence, sum up that race, and BT is going to go after you. But there's so much we need to get into.
In one sentence, Lewis and Max is a cut above the rest. That's it.
BT?
Wow. Um,
How's it?
total tears and happy endings.
Oh wow, that's amazing. I was about to diss you. But that's amazing. I was gonna say like, how is it that you're the one taking time, and I answered that in the quick of a flat. I mean, come on, like we've had that. But that was well played. I love that's a bit of poetry right there. Poetry at its best, Mr. William Shakespeare. Well, the 21st century William Shakespeare. We did.
But Graham, now that you're talking about poetry, that's actually mine. Is that Lewis Hamilton performed to poetry levels? But let's get into this, and that is exactly the first thing I want to talk about. Because no matter whether you love the guy, no matter whether you tolerate the guy, no matter whether you hate the guy, this was probably Lewis Hamilton's best victory ever. And actually, I told my housemates last night, I was like, because I work Sunday, so I only watched the race after work with them. And I told them on Saturday, Lewis is winning this. If it rains, Lewis is winning this. And I told them last night I should have gone to gamble. I would have made so much money
Mate,
with just
I'm
100.
telling you, the odds on Lewis to have won before qualifying, I won't say after qualifying, but before quali, I think the odds for him to win would have been tremendous. It would have probably been at least 20 plus. Honestly, I can't see it being any lower than that, because honestly, possibly maybe 17, 18 to 1, but I don't see it being much lower than that. His odds to win must have been absolutely incredible. But look, man, the reason for my sentence is that Max and Lewis proved that they are just far ahead, and Lando said it himself. He admitted it himself. He's like, when they asked him about it, in terms of his Lando being at the top and whatever, and Lando said himself, well, clearly I'm not as good as I should be because I'm not making the right calls, but the guys in front of me did, which seems to be a recurring theme. And if you think about it, I'm actually really, this race was a test to see which team and driver are the most in sync, and I'm not surprised that Mercedes and Max Verstappen with Red Bull were the two top drivers. I was surprised that Max was in the top two, obviously, after some time. But at the beginning, like, as the race was going, I'm not surprised. But obviously before the race, yeah, I was like, there's no ways Max is getting anywhere near the top 5. And I don't know. I just think that people...
In that.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that. We're going to elaborate on that later. Trust me, it's a topic by itself. I made proper space for Max on this. But BT, I actually want to hear your point just on the good feeling that no matter how you see Lewis, the good feeling that this weekend brought because Lewis won. I know you're a big Lewis fan.
First of all, I'm back. Second of all, the disrespect from Graham. We talking about Lewis is raving about Max, so that's utterly disrespectful from his point of view, and he knows that as well. Look,
I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there.
I told what?
I'm gonna get. I said I'm gonna get there.
Yeah, you're so disrespectful. You're talking about Max instead of talking about Lewis.
Because I'm leaving Lewis. I'm leaving Lewis for the perfect conversation. Don't you worry. I'm gonna get there.
Okay.
Just carry on.
I didn't know. I didn't know we're playing mind games in this podcast. Anyway, so look, it's plain and simple, bro. Lewis won this race. I'm not going to mention the pace of Mercedes, especially when it was raining and all that stuff, but purely on strategy. Lewis' strategy was on point, bro. Um, the mistakes that McLaren done or Norris done, Mercedes were able to capitalize on that, and that was just amazing to see. I mean, baby, if you are watching, I did miss when Lewis Hamilton actually got ahead of Norris because of you. But that's fine. I heard it when I was walking inside the house
BT messaged
after I
me.
went outside.
BT messaged me. He's just like, dude, I just missed that. My girlfriend called me for something. I don't know what she's doing. Just like, dude.
But anyway, yeah, no, plain and simple, bro. I think we all knew it was coming at some point because I remember we had a conversation about Mercedes if they were back or not, and my answer was that I needed a few more races, and this is the few more races that I needed, and I can say officially that they are back. They're looking quite scary, and it's good for Lewis, man. It's a nice gift for him to leave Mercedes. Um, for his last season.
Mm, mm.
Now he's not pressured to win a race. If he can win a race, obviously he's going to win a race, but at least he's leaving the team on a good note by actually winning a race at his home race. So well done to Lewis and the team. That's all.
No. I think both of you guys summed it up. And Graham, I just want to apologize for interrupting you, but I want to keep your Max talk for when we get to Max.
I don't want to talk
Yeah,
about Max. I want to talk about. To be fair, like to be fair, I feel like this could be one of those. This is the type of racing we need in Formula One, right? Where everything happens up front.
Yes.
This episode, I swear we could talk an hour just on the people in the front. We don't even have to care about anybody else except for Hulkenberg. Okay, but that's for a different. But the point I'm trying to make is like this is the type of racing we need where we can talk about the front of the field for majority of a podcast because that's what people want, that's what people love, that's what we love, and I think this is amazing. I think what Mercedes have done is it's not as tremendous as what McLaren's had done over in the last couple years. I'll give it to them. I'll give McLaren that praise. But what I will say is that Mercedes have done it quietly. They came out of nowhere and just all of a sudden their car just started beasting it. And to be quite frank, all this talk about, is Lewis washed or what's happening? Why is George this? Is Lewis being sabotaged? Blah, this and this and this and this and that. I mean, guys, did you see the smile on Toto's face? He was happy to see Lewis win that. And I genuinely feel now, I was one of them that was kind of thinking like, I think something dodgy is happening here. But genuinely, like, I think Toto wants the best for Hamilton, and I think they gave it to him. And I just hope that we have this for the rest of the season, because oh boy, we've got another year of the same regulations. So if this is the rest of the season, just imagine what next year's going to be like. So I am keen.
Now, I will be honest with you, James. I was very much on, I wouldn't say the conspiracy theory group, but I was very much under the impression that after Lewis's announcement that he's leaving Mercedes for Ferrari, I honestly thought like Mercedes were trying just to make it clear that okay, you're going now, just get out as quickly as possible. And actually, towards Mercedes, even though they don't know this, but from my side, I actually want to apologize to them because despite the fact that Lewis before this weekend has won 103 Grand Prix, and I've never heard him cry on the radio before, not with his first win, not with a world championship win, not with any record he's broken. This weekend didn't just mean the world to Lewis, it meant the world to Mercedes. Because that formation of Hamilton, even when Rosberg was there, Bottas was there, now Russell, that Lewis Hamilton Mercedes AMG Petronas relationship was built on such a strong foundation, and the way they suffered together just to have such a sweet victory in Lewis's backyard, where there were 3 Brits that could have won easily this weekend. For Lewis to come out on top and to get back to what you said, Graham, for just showing that Lewis and Max both are just in an upper echelon at this very moment. it was just so good to see. And I mean, you could even see Lewis took like a full 5 to 7 minutes after getting out of the car to take off his helmet because he knew he wasn't going to be able to hold back tears. And that for me was just such an amazing thing to see. And as someone that I've said it many times on the podcast that doesn't like Hamilton or Verstappen, I respect them, but I don't like them. I couldn't help but root for Lewis every second of that race because I wanted him to win at Silverstone, and it was just exceptional to see. Um, I like this is the stuff that we Formula One fans live for. Despite the racing at the front, it's feel good moments like this that keep us coming back to the sport, no matter how boring it gets sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I won't. I mean, look, to be fair, I mean, from an honest point of view, I won't say I was rooting for Hamilton because, I mean, Red Bull McLaren supporter here. I mean, we were still in the fight. But when Hamilton won, I was certainly pretty happy about it. I was like, wow, actually, this is a great outcome. I think this outcome is actually what Formula One needed. And it's not just about sitting here praising Lewis or praising Mercedes. It's not about that. It's also about the fact that Formula One is back. Formula One is back, guys. We needed this. We now have 3 cars in the fight. We now have 3 cars in a fight, and it looks genuine. It looks like these cars are genuinely on par. Yes, the Red Bulls are a little bit off, but if they a little bit off, we know they'll still be in the fight because their strategy is just on point.
Yeah.
You know, there's 3 teams having a conversation here, and this is what we need. There was a 4th team in the conversation. They took a break from the conversation to go to the bathroom, and they haven't come back. I'm not sure if they got stuck in a conversation with Haas, because, well, this weekend it looked like they were closer to Haas than anybody else, but we'll get onto that, I assume. And I don't want to be too easy on them to save face for you guys, but I also don't want to be too harsh because I just sometimes these things happen. It happens, and I'm pretty sure they'll get back into it eventually. But honestly, we have 3 teams in the fight, and I think this is going to be epic. I mean, we've got Hungary coming up next, which is a high downforce track, so you know there's going to be some pretty solid action if the cars can be closer to each other. It's not the easiest to overtake, but there are 1 or 2 places that can be pretty exciting if the cars are close enough. But yeah, I'm excited, man. The rest of the season just looks like it's going to be an it's about to kick off, gents. That's all I'm saying. It's about to kick off.
No. And I actually want to move on, but BT, I want your opinion on this first. So we can praise Lewis for a solid 2 to 3 hours. I mean, it was really an exceptional drive. But another thing that really needs to be talked about that people don't talk about enough on any of the other podcasts is the fact that out of the 3 top teams, which were out of the 2 top teams and the 1 driver, Verstappen, Mercedes, and McLaren, this honestly, throughout practice and qualifying, this was McLaren's race to lose, and they did. That car was the quickest in the greasy, slippery conditions. It was on par with Mercedes and Red Bull in the dry, maybe slightly quicker at certain stages. And McLaren bottled this weekend 100%. BT, your thoughts?
Mine's going to be quick and easy. I'm not going to rumble at all. It goes back what I said in the last episode where I was present, where McLaren are in front now and they don't know how to win yet. They don't know how to win yet.
Yeah.
Basically, in a nutshell, we've seen it every weekend. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
Right now, TV screens.
Yeah.
For example, they bottled up their pitting strategy.
For the 3rd
Who
time.
knows why they left up Piastri? Who knows? Everyone was questioning that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot of things that Red Bull basically showing, and Mercedes is showing McLaren how to think on their feet, how to
Yes.
think in situational based situations, especially when race conditions are changing rapidly like that. So they just need to master that. If they do master adapting to a situation and making decisions fairly quickly and not relying on Norris to make the decision solely.
Mm.
Graham said something very interesting the other time, is that they asking him what they should do They're not supposed to be asking Norris what to do. Only situational based
Yeah.
like things within the racetrack, or changing conditions in a race or something like that, they can ask Norris those questions. Because me and Graham yesterday we were talking about Leclerc, where when Leclerc made a terrible call. In
Yeah.
my opinion, they did ask him. Surely they asked him if we should go to Inters or not.
Yeah.
So McLaren's just struggling with that. If they're able to fix that and actually perfect that as well, then they will start winning races. We saw our Red Bull was in the back foot of almost the entire race, and they made a very smart decision just like that to change to Inters, and the whole race changed in an instant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when I saw the race, that means that the Red Bulls were struggling the slicks, but that means the Red Bull also made the hard work. I was so surprised by that.
Same
That
here.
was so actually that was actually funny. I forgot to ask Graham or call Graham about that, because I was like, Verstappen was struggling on mediums, but when he put on the hards, he was the fastest car on track.
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Because I just think that because when he
See,
was on the hards, he was able to push because he knew he had enough
yeah,
tires, so he was able
yeah.
to push it.
So
But yeah.
yeah, so my example is that you see the decisions that Red Bull does, the type of decisions they make, strategy calls they make.
Mm.
If McLaren's able to do stuff like that, they should be able to win races.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Your turn. Let's get.
yeah, I think Red Bull know their driver and their driver know them. And I think that is such a big difference between McLaren and what McLaren have and what Red Bull have. And the same with Mercedes. They know Lewis and Lewis knows them. And that connection is just, it's different, man. And it works differently for different teams and different drivers. And quite honestly, I was on the side of criticizing Ferrari for hanging Leclerc out to dry again. But then when BT said about Leclerc also making that call, I didn't know, because I didn't hear anything about Leclerc making the call. I thought that it was just Ferrari doing something, you know, that like they were saying, okay, let's try it out. And it just kind of got me thinking, like, every other driver was asked. I mean, Piastri was asked, and Norris was asked, and so after a while, I started thinking, well, actually, BT's got a point here, because surely they would have asked Leclerc as well, and Leclerc would have been the one to say, hey, let's do this. So then you also got to start criticizing Leclerc's decision making as well. So it's not just a Ferrari blunder; it's a Leclerc blunder that Ferrari went with, which in those conditions you kind of not. You kind of don't want to blame Ferrari for that, because, you know, when the driver is the one feeling those conditions, you have to think, okay, I mean, they did okay with Carlos Sainz. I mean, Carlos was looking pretty healthy at a stage. I mean, he looked like he was going to pass Max at some point. So yeah, but sorry, let's just get back to McLaren quickly. I just feel that, you know, we 2022, we make all these fun jokes about Ferrari being clowns, but like, you know, where's Zach Brown with his clown face and his clown hair? And because quite honestly, I think Zach needs to shut his fat mouth. Honestly, he talks way too much. He talks way too much, and he says he's too busy having a go at Red Bull and their situation, and he gets too deep in it, because he gets personal. He really gets personal, and he gets very specific. You know, when he says things like, you know, you have to be able to control your drivers and problem fathers and stuff like that. We know what you're saying, Zach. We know what you're saying, but just shut up. Like, it's got nothing to do with you, mate. Like, just deal with your team. Your team's got bigger issues right now. Your team has the best car. Your team has the best car, hands down the best car, and hasn't won a race since Miami. And in Miami, you didn't have the best car. You were lucky to win that race, but now that you have the best car, you can't win a race. Shut up. Like, keep your mouth shut. Focus on your team. And I said this to somebody yesterday. When I listen to Zach Brown, I actually feel embarrassed that I support McLaren at all. Like, I just do. I really do. he's so annoying. He really is so annoying. But I have to respect him in certain ways. Like I've got to respect his business mindset. I have to respect the grind. I have to respect the way he's been able to turn this team around. I have to respect that because nobody can not respect that. But when he opens his mouth, it's just like, oh, Zach, shut up, dude. Just keep quiet, you know? so, so yeah, anyways, sorry, just to get back to the actual F1 talk. I just think that McLaren really this is probably the third race now that they've bottled Lando's win. They've even bottled a chance for Piastri to win because Piastri could have even won in this race.
Yeah.
If there's one thing that I did love about McLaren was the slingshot. I don't know if you saw that slingshot. Some magical slingshot appeared. I don't know if you saw it. BT, did you see it?
Yeah.
When Lando passed Hamilton, there was like this magical slingshot that came up behind Norris and just pushed him. I don't know if you saw it. BT's squinting at me like I'm being crazy. Genuinely, that was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. He was about 6 to 7 tenths behind Lewis, and all of a sudden, the guy closed up in 2 corners and just flew past him. And I thought, did Lewis make a mistake or something, or what happened here? Because I don't know if I've ever seen a car go that quickly. Like genuinely, he just in two corners just closed up and just straight past him, and I thought, whoa, what the flip is going on here? So that was quite interesting, and I thought that was amazing. Oscar Piastri's move on the outside of George, jeez, like that little boy,
What a move.
that lighty's got some balls on him. What? That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. Honestly, I was excited for a straight up fight between the two teams, the McLaren and the Mercedes. I thought that was going to be sick. And then obviously enter Max with the strategy call at the end. I think it was amazing. But we got to give our hats off to Lewis, the tire whisperer. Guys, honestly, let's just say this. I know we've moved on from Mercedes, but I do need to give Lewis his praise because this guy got put on the softs. Lando got put on the softs. I don't know if you saw by the end of the race, Lando dropped by 6 seconds. And yet Lewis still stayed ahead of Max. So, ultimately, Lewis knew how to talk to his tires, and you've got to give it to him for that. I mean, you just have to give it to him because, nobody wants Max chasing you down. And especially not in a position where you're in your home race, you really, really want to win. That just shows you how good Lewis really is. That just shows you why he's one of the best ever, because he just does not care to feel that. He focuses on what's important and what's in front of him, and he goes for it. So well done, well done, Lewis. I think that's genuinely one of the best drives. I've seen Lewis do some insane things in his career, but the reason this was one of his best drives to me is because of all the things thrown at that team and him, and just during the race over the last 2 years, just everything. It's enough for him to give up, but he just kept on going. And that, like you guys know, like I get choked up very easily with certain things, especially as a father. When I see father-son moments, it's pretty rough on me. And I gotta say, dude, when I saw him and his dad, bro, like the tears, I had a bit of tears in my eyes, bro. It was, to me, that was, that is a moment that you just can't describe to anybody. It's a moment that you just can't. You could see the emotion. You could see it. And it's just such a beautiful thing to see. But yeah, anyways, McLaren need to start wearing the clown hats now. I think it's fair for us to start pulling these memes out. So please, guys, I love McLaren, but let's be fair. Let's be fair to Ferrari. Let's not just pounce on Ferrari every time they make a mistake. Let's pounce on McLaren too now, because I think it's enough. It's been a couple of races now that they've been making these mistakes, and it's time to start calling them clowns too, because honestly, it's very annoying.
Yeah. Actually, before we move on to the next topic, where I think we're going to have a little bit more fun to get away from the serious talk, but two things I actually want to mention before we move on. Graham, actually now with my current living situation with my dad moving so far away and now being on retirement, for me, father-son moment is also something that I hold very close to my heart. And I have to agree with you. After Lewis got out of that car, he still doesn't have the I wouldn't say the strength, but the guts within himself to take the helmet off. And his dad Anthony just coming in, hugging him, and you can see there's such a connection between those two. And Lewis mentioned it himself. He said there were times within the last 2.5 years where I just wanted to give up. Between my dad and the team, the ones that kept me going, and that was something special. And then to go back to the move that Piastri made on Russell, I just quickly want to mention this. It starts to rain. They are on slicks that are busy getting cold on a greasy track, and this son of a gun decides to dip 2 wheels onto already wet grass and just be like, you know what? F it, I'm going to send it. And he actually pulls it off.
No, incredible. No, this kid is...
I'm going to live by this statement because I know it's going to come true. That is the next Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Michael Schumacher. That kid has got something special. He's doing what you mentioned, Graham, what Mercedes did now. They did everything quietly. Piastri is doing the exact same thing. And there's just going to be a Grand Prix that rocks up, and Piastri is going to dominate, and then he's going to arrive. And I can't wait for that day. I love
You can think he's going to be like a Prost there, because Prost wasn't like the biggest fighter. He was usually like the very calm, sort of like chill guy, and but he was just clever about things, and he was just slick with it. Like you just never saw it coming. So I think like Piastri is going to be something like that. He's just going to be slick. He'll make his funny little tweets, tease Lewis on Twitter or Carlos or whatever. But when it comes to the racing, no one's going to see it coming, man. This guy's just going to pull it out the bag.
Okay, now the next thing I want to talk about is actually 2 drivers that I've made a conjoint topic now, because I don't see it's useless to talk about them separately because they both did the exact same thing. First thing that I want to mention before we talk about them, obviously we've already talked a bit about Leclerc, but he's part of this topic. Do you guys know that in the past 2 races, Nico Hulkenberg in a Haas has scored more points than Perez has scored in the last 6 races? Why is he still in that Red Bull? It is really starting to get and with all due respect to Red Bull, I don't mean there's any form of disrespect, but it's starting to get pathetic now. It's starting to become sad. Why is he still there? And I mean, to just pull Leclerc into this, it's been 3 races in a row now where in 2 of them, Leclerc has been lapped.
Yeah, that's rough.
There is some disconnect between Ferrari and Leclerc and Red Bull and Perez. Or Perez has just decided he's going on a Mexican siesta for the rest of the season. He's just doing a Bottas or a Raikkonen, showing up, racing. Oh, crap, it went bad. Oops, 2-year extension.
Yeah, so BT, I don't know if you want to go first, actually, because you haven't spoken in a while. So maybe you go first, and then I'll give you my thoughts. I don't have thoughts.
You can go first, bro.
You sure?
Really have that. Yeah, I know you can go. I really have nothing to say about this.
What is it?
This is a really difficult conversation, man, because it seems like it's one that we're having every single weekend, and it's really sad, to be honest. So, okay, guys, so this is what I've been seeing lately, and I don't know if it's true, but it's just some of the things that I've been seeing. I know what is true, but what I don't know is true is this. Apparently, there's a clause in Perez's contract that states that if he falls further than 100 points behind Max, that they can terminate his contract at any point, which it's already over 100. So at this point, they can. So with that being said, they can actually terminate this immediately, right? What I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just what I've been seeing. What I do know is true is that Helmut Marko has come out and stated that he's got until the break, and if he doesn't come right then, depending on how Daniel does, which I mean Daniel hasn't been doing badly, then they'll put Daniel in that car. So the thing is, like, Daniel hasn't really been doing badly. He hasn't been doing great, but he's just not doing anything bad. So I think to them that's good enough. I mean, and I'll say this as a big Daniel Ricciardo fan. I'll still say, I don't know why Yuki just does not get any recognition. I can't fathom.
I say,
I can't fathom, like, okay, to be fair, Yuki has not actually had great races the last 4 or 5 races. I think we looked at this last week, Dirk, where we saw that his value on our ratings has gone down every race for the last 3 or 4 races. But in this race, he pulled it back, got some points, did an extremely good job. And so hats off to him. But the point is that two things on my mind. One, why is Yuki never getting considered? And two, whatever happened to Liam Lawson being the reserve driver? Because was that not supposed to be a thing? Just put him there. Because the reality is, and I said this to someone
I think they lose now.
yeah, I said to so I get this, right? So some people will say they can't get any worse, so right? So let's just put Danny there. We know that Danny is good in that car in terms of the driving style and suits to the car, blah 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 blah. The reality is, two things are going to happen here. Either Daniel does better, closes the gap, and it works, great, cool, and then everybody's happy because Daniel's not washed. The other option is that Daniel doesn't do better, but he can't really do any worse either. But then we know, okay, Daniel's definitely a little bit washed. And now we know Liam Lawson needs to step in, and then you put Liam Lawson straight into the bigger team. And I kind of like that idea. So I feel like maybe that's a good idea. Put Daniel there. If he does well, cool, good on him. If he doesn't do so well, it's not like he can do any worse. They can't get any worse than Perez right now, right? So if he doesn't do too well, at least you know where Liam Lawson needs to go next. So
Yeah.
it's probably not a bad decision for them to gamble. To be honest, I'll just put Liam Lawson in there right now, because let's be honest, I said this to someone today. That's their future, right? So, like, if you think about the future, Max decides to leave next year or the year after, who's going to take over the reins of Red Bull? At this point, no one. Literally no one. Because they're not considering Yuki. I've got a feeling that Yuki is going to go to Honda at some point, and they know it, because they just never talk about Yuki getting promoted, and I can't understand why.
Yeah.
Checo is definitely not their future. Daniel is debatable, but we have to see first. Right now, he's not their future. Well, he's anyways 30 something now anyways, but okay. And Max, if Max leaves in a year or two, then what then? You know, so Liam Lawson is pretty much their future. I think they missed a big opportunity with Sainz. They should have signed. I don't know.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't think why they wouldn't have signed Sainz, to be honest. I think that was the biggest mistake they've made. Anyways.
Yeah, I was also thinking of that as well. Like I was thinking, because I'm putting a scenario where Max actually leaves, and Science will be able to cover that space that Max left in the team. So, I mean, when it comes to Perez, like,
sorry, BT. Sorry, I don't want to. It's just every time you talk about this, I can see that when the moment you start smiling before you talk, I know. I just know.
I mean, I think it's a discussion I had with Graham where I think Max is happy for him to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think Red Bull's also like making decisions very carefully, very quietly, and for those decisions to not disturb or not make Max upset or anything like that. Because, I mean, it is a comfort zone for Max to have a teammate like Perez. They've been teammates for a long time. And I think the last thing that Max would want is another team. I don't know. It's just that it looks like they just want that structure instead of having a new driver where that whole structure now is actually changed and you know, everything's just different. And I think Max is just a person that, just like me, who likes not routine, but likes the way things
comfortability.
You don't like, yeah.
It's the same as Lewis Bottas. It was the same situation.
Yeah. So it is that, and it looks like Max doesn't really mind him taking all the points or whatever, or maintaining that position for Red Bull. You know, And I'm sure Red Bull at some point, they were hoping that this funk that Perez is in now for the longest time would eventually go away, because Leclerc is also slowly getting to that funk as well. So I don't know if is this a virus now that's spreading across the paddock and it's slowly spreading to Leclerc. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that one actually, Graham. You go ahead. Let's talk about that one.
Wait.
About Leclerc. Let's talk about Leclerc. What's happening?
Yeah, Dirk, that's on you, buddy.
Honestly, like we said before we started recording, that's why I'm wearing the hat. I will forever die on the Ferrari hill. The Fernando Alonso and the Ferrari hill, I'm in between them. I will die there every day of the week. But and this is something that we've talked about it in the past, but it's never been more apparent to me than now, because Leclerc mentioned this in the post-race interviews, that it wasn't Ferrari's call to go on the ends that early. That was his call. He went off the information the team gave him because they said there was big rain, just a few, like 2 laps out. Let's see if, because he did what he, but the thing for me is, he just overtook the driver that he was stuck behind to get into reasonably solid points considering where Ferrari were pace-wise this weekend. He was behind Sainz, and he was slowly but surely closing up. Why gamble points away? And the point I want to get to before I go down the rabbit hole here is, if Leclerc doesn't figure out before Lewis gets in that car next year how to say, what are my options? Okay, this and this. Okay, we're going plan A. If he doesn't figure out how to do that before 2025, I can't see a situation where Ferrari might have the quickest car next year and Leclerc, he can't make Lewis keeps winning because Lewis says, guys, we're doing this. This is the best choice. And it's the same with McLaren and Lando now. You can't leave everything up to the driver. You can also not leave everything up to the team. It needs to be a coherent decision-making. And Sainz is the perfect example of this. Because every time there's crappy conditions, and go look it up on the results so far this season and since Sainz joined Ferrari, as soon as there is a race where the conditions are varying, Sainz beats Leclerc substantially because he knows how to say, guys, the weather is this, I want this tire. We need to go to this strategy. We need to do this. It took Sainz a while, but as soon as he started doing that, Leclerc had won Monaco where you can't overtake. The other races that Ferrari have won, spoiler alert, was Carlos Sainz. Because Sainz knows how and when to make decisions now. Yeah. And again, I understand why Ferrari went with Lewis. But Ferrari are losing a little gem in Carlos Sainz. Red Bull have missed out on a monumental opportunity not signing Sainz because, like you said, Graham, there's no one there when Max decides, you know what, I'm going to the World Endurance Championships. Chyla.
Dirk.
Yes.
Do you think at some point, I know this is not gonna carry for he's not gonna be like this for long. I don't think Leclerc is gonna be like this for the rest of the season. But do you think that if he continues having these small declines within a season while having a competitive car, yes, the car at the moment, that situation is happening at the moment. But do you think if he continues having these small dips within seasons, do you think Ferrari will finally let him go?
With all due respect, I honestly think they will. Because I'm thinking more than just poster kid. They've got Lewis coming to that team now. It's signed, it's sealed, it's delivered. Lewis is going to Ferrari. Lewis's inputs towards the younger drivers, towards where Ferrari needs to go to actually get to championship status. If Leclerc keeps bottling like this and making wrong decisions, and with all due respect, we all know this, Ferrari could have won the championship in 2022. Bad team and bad driver decisions cost them the drivers and the constructors. If Ferrari do that, no. Yes, Max was an absolute animal.
No, I was going to say FIA kind of stuffed them a little bit, to be honest, because obviously with the floor ride, like that definite.
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah, of course, that as
Like
well.
I'm not saying that Leclerc was going to beat Max. Max was a bit of a beast, but yeah, I mean you can't say that Leclerc wouldn't have beat Max if they didn't change the rules. I get what your point is. I just wanted to put it out there. Like there was a bigger factor to this.
Okay, I understand that. I understand that. But let me just finish this. I think with Lewis coming in, with the amount of experience that Lewis is going to bring with himself, as soon as someone loses faith in Leclerc, like for instance Hamilton, there's Ferrari are not going to think twice to let him go. They let Kimi go like that. They let Massa go like that. They even, if Schumacher didn't retire, there were rumors back in '06 that
Yeah,
isn't performing to Alonso standards.
yeah.
If he can't perform with, he's going. And luckily, Schumi decided to retire. But Ferrari have got a very one-minded mentality when you start really underperforming, and then they go the Red Bull route. Okay, bye, tata. And I honestly think, even though Leclerc is their poster kid, with what we know is happening within the next 18 months, I see Ferrari tearing up that contract if Leclerc keeps making mistakes.
Because my thing is, like when I was watching the race yesterday, I'm like, Leclerc, you don't have the fastest car in this race. So why are you making decisions like that? You're going to finish either fifth, sixth, or seventh. That's where you're gonna finish this
Yeah.
race. So why are you making decisions and strategies where like you could actually win this race? That was what's going in my mind when
Yeah.
he actually made the
I
decision. I'm like,
yeah.
so what is the aim out of
I
it?
think if I can just add here, like, I look, don't get me wrong. I don't think you guys are wrong, and I definitely think that Leclerc. I definitely think that Leclerc is very much showing a lack of any kind of what's it, IQ, racing IQ.
Yeah, he
But
is.
but
Yes.
but I
That
but I also feel that I also feel like if this was, let's say this was, because I never heard any radio calls. Did you guys hear any radio calls?
No.
No.
they weren't going to broadcast the radio calls because he was sitting in
No.
16th.
What I'm saying is, we know.
No, before he went to the
We
test.
know that they asked the other. We know that the teams asked all their drivers. We didn't see if they asked Leclerc. And I'm sure they probably did, right? But let's just say, for example, this was a team call, right? Uh, it could have been one of those things where Ferrari is getting desperate now to sort of become heroes, right? So it's kind of like they were up in the front, they've fallen back. It's a case of like, okay, Sainz is looking okay in sixth, Leclerc is seventh. Let's do something crazy. If it works, Leclerc ends up winning the race. If it doesn't work, well, it's not like we're going to lose much. I feel like that's probably the wrong mentality, because I think 6 points is 6 points, and you should probably be pretty happy
Wow.
with 6 points.
It's still
But I'm
this
just
fight.
saying, yeah, they are, but they are still in the fight. I'm just saying, like, you've got to also try and think, like, in F1, sometimes teams do these things, man. They do these funny things because they feel like it could be a genius move if it works, but if it doesn't work, oh, it's only a couple of points. But to be fair,
But there's also something called delusion,
no,
though, bro.
of course. I like Liverpool supporters and all that kind of stuff. No, I know, like, I get it. Like, I get it. I understand completely. Like, it's just, I think, I guys, you know, Ferrari is 7 points ahead of McLaren. Seven. At a
Yes.
stage, they were like 70 points ahead. 7.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
And now it's going back. It's going back to go again. We have said that they are behind. They're falling behind.
Yeah.
And what did we say? We're gonna give them a few races.
Well, we've given it to them.
I'm going to give them Hungary now. Hungary is the last circuit. They could actually win that race. If they don't win that race, Dirk, we should start.
Yeah, well,
panicking.
considering that they won Monaco, they should definitely do well in Hungary. And if they don't, then there's a big problem there, because Hungary is a
Yes.
Monaco without walls, basically, in some ways.
In a
Yeah, in
nutshell.
some ways. So I feel like they have to kind of do well there. But I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Like, I somehow think that they're not going to, because Yo, man, it's it you know, it kind of thing, it makes me think like the whole McLaren thing, right? McLaren is closing down on them very quickly. We giving McLaren stick for their blunders and you know, but they still in the last couple races, every race have had the most points out of every team. But that's because Ferrari has lacked Leclerc. Basically, Ferrari and Red Bull are handicapped because they've only got one driver each.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mercedes is not quick, has not been quick enough to fight McLaren, even when McLaren mess up.
Yeah.
Up
until
until
this
this point. So I mean, to be fair, we give McLaren a lot of stick, but actually they're still scoring the most points and they're closing that gap. Imagine if Ferrari still had Leclerc sort of there. Imagine there were still things happening with Leclerc. They probably wouldn't have fallen so quickly to McLaren if Leclerc was scoring regular points with Sainz in the front. Sort of like just keep on getting those 5 or 6s. You know, I mean, Lando is frequently fighting for the win now. If he loses out the win for blunders, he's gonna lose it to Max. Max is gonna win the championship if it keeps going on like this, and that's fine. That's fine. But what we cared about now is we cared about this constructors, right? Because this is genuinely the chance for another team to snatch it. And right now, it looks like Ferrari aren't interested. It looks like they don't care. Like they don't want to fight for it. It doesn't look like they do. You know, like at least McLaren, like at least you can say, yeah, they're making mistakes, but at least you can say they're trying because they are trying. But like it just doesn't look like Ferrari are really trying. It just looks like they waiting for Lewis to come, I guess, to fix the problems.
Right, like Leclerc's not blunders, but to show that this weekend was probably also horrible. His qualifying session, his Q3 session was it was like, oh, okay, this is happening. Oh, okay, cool.
I don't know.
That the car's just not fast enough at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not, and I've accepted that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but there's another Ferrari that is taking Ferrari's place though, and I think we should definitely have a chat about that.
Before we move to the B team Ferrari, actually, one thing that I will just have to say, I just want to put this on the table. Look, BT, I completely agree with you. If Ferrari technically don't win Hungary, we've got a big reason to work. Yes. The only thing I want to add to this is with how competitive it is for those top 8 positions, well, top 6, exclude Ferrari now, with how competitive it is between Red Bull, Mercedes, and McLaren, and for some, let's say by some miracle, Perez is actually on front running pace, which he will not be. But the only thing that will make me not panic after Hungary is if Ferrari is in the battle. I wouldn't, because it's so competitive, to expect Ferrari to go from Silverstone to absolutely winning Hungary, I feel is a bit unrealistic. But if they are not within 10 seconds of the car that wins, and I'm talking about both Ferraris, if they are not within 10 seconds of whoever wins Hungary or they don't win, then there's definitely reason to panic. Yeah. I just feel putting them on that pedestal of if you don't win, we're screwed, which is the case. But if you don't, I feel that's just being a bit unrealistic. This is still Formula One. It's not entertainment. It's still a sport. But let's talk about the second Ferrari, and let's talk about probably the most underrated driver of the season so far, Nico, the Hulk Hulkenberg.
Oh, I thought you were gonna. Yeah, okay.
My goodness. Look, I understand, and it's actually something that was mentioned on another podcast that I want to mention. People slander Hulkenberg for never being on the podium or winning a race. And I went to go fact check this earlier today. Do you guys ever realize when Hulkenberg was fighting for podiums years back, the reason he lost out on those podiums is because he was always fighting for the win and something happened with either another driver or he had a slight bottle. But point being is he was never just fighting for a podium. It was always there was a possible win.
Yeah.
And Hulkenberg is doing in a car that literally, again, I'm going to mention this again because people forget, in a car that in preseason testing by the team said we're finishing last, is beating the actual engine provider. How how's Hulkenberg doing this, Graham?
Well, yeah. Okay. I mean, first of all, I thought you were gonna say most underrated driver Stroll, because anyways, he's had a pretty solid week.
Oh my goodness.
Uh,
Oh my.
but anyways, I think Derek's been quite a comedian. But look, I can't say how he's doing this. Otherwise, I'd probably be an F1 if I knew. You know what I mean? Um, but but what I would say is that Hulk has always been a consistently good driver, and you know, let's be realistic. Let's be fair to Hulk. We go back years. Hulk doesn't often lose to his teammates. Okay, we talk about Danny and how Norris stuffed him. Daniel stuffed him. That's what happened. Daniel absolutely killed the Hulk, and he left after that. And something after in coming back has just changed. He took the
Yeah.
right amount of time off after being smashed. He's come back, and put him next to Daniel now, and I'm telling you, he'll club Daniel too back. So it will be like fair game. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I just think like we've got to be fair to Hulk here. Is that, you know, these drivers go through these things, and sometimes they have those off years, and it's really difficult on your mentality. It really plays on your mindset. And he went through those years where things just didn't work out for him. He was getting smacked around by his teammate. Took some time off, came back, and it's like he's got this new energy. I mean, since he's been back, he's been giving Magnussen what for? You know what I mean? He's on top of his game, and you also got to think like he's never really had a car to fight for podiums. I mean, we talk about why he's never been on the podium, but like he's he's Alonso without the two world champions. He just makes the wrong calls. He's been making the
Yeah.
wrong calls for years. He always leaves a team just when it's like sort of on the up, and then he goes to a team that's just going on the down. You can go and look back. It's happened every single time. Every time he moves to a different team, it's a team that's on the up that he's moved to a team that's going down. So you can go and check it. He's just had one of those sort of like careers, and I don't think it's, as much as we talk about the next Lewis Hamilton, I don't think it's easy to have the next Hulkenberg, because it's not easy to keep doing that. It's not easy to keep changing teams that are going to make you go backwards. He's never had a car to really genuinely start fighting for podiums and stuff like that. I mean, the closest he had probably in the most recent years was the Renault, and well, that didn't really work out for him, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I can't say how he's doing it, but I just know that since he's come back, he's been a different driver. He's come back as a rejuvenated person, more energy, and just more drive. It's like he's now back to prove a point now. You know what I mean? I think, you know, we take
Yeah.
drivers like him that have gone out of the sport and come back in. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. Didn't work for Daniel. It hasn't worked for a lot of drivers. But for him, it seems to have worked wonders, because he's come back and almost a different person. I love the Hulk. I've always
Yeah.
loved Hulk. I think he's a really good driver, but I got to be honest. I last year thought that Magnussen was going to slap him up because of what happened before he left, and he proved us wrong completely. And I'm okay with that, because quite honestly, I think he's a good candidate for Audi. I'll give him that. Audi are looking for someone good.
They signed a little star there. They really signed someone with tons of experience and just really, really solid pace to get that team into the developmental race. I really think that was a brilliant sign from Audi.
100%. PT?
PTD, yeah,
Mine will be short and sweet. Look, I think he's just in sync with that car this season. It's just working for him. It looks like the car was built for him, because he's looking very fast, especially in qualifying. So it's going great for him. Speaking about Audi, I think it's an opportunity for him now to maybe get a podium. Hoping that Audi will be one of the the better teams in the paddock as time
Yeah,
goes. Maybe 2027, 2028, and maybe you never know. He might pull a Jason Button career where he just wins one championship and he goes off the sunset. I don't know. We never know. We don't know how Audi's going to look like, how the car's going to be, how fast the
for
car's going
sure.
to be. So it's quite interesting and exciting to see what's going
Yeah.
to happen there. So I think this time he has a chance to actually maybe grab some podiums at some point.
Well, Audi has never
Yeah.
entered. Audi has
No,
never entered into a motor race without the intention of winning. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, bro.
Audi has won
Yeah.
everything that they've ever been in.
yes, that's very true. I just wanted to mention that that's actually a fact that I've known for years, but every single different type of motorsport that Audi has ever entered, they haven't just entered to win. They've literally won it.
Mm,
Whether it's endurance racing, GT racing, rally, they've won the Dakar now. I
mm.
mean, Audi knows how to build race cars. And even though F1 is, I think, the toughest motorsport to get into, I don't think it's going to be a Honda that turned into to Braun and then into Mercedes. I don't think it's going to be a situation like that. I give Audi 3 to 5 seasons, and then they'll be fighting at the front. That's my personal opinion. But one last thing that I actually want to talk about before we get to our race rating, and I really feel not a lot of people are talking about this. And you guys always give me crap for a certain driver, but I'm talking about the team now. Williams had a freaking amazing weekend. They really performed. Albon P9, Sargent just missing out on the points, battling literally for the 10th position. With Yuki, it was an absolutely brilliant race from Williams, and I really think that they showed they still want to fight for points, even when the car is not always there.
Yeah. PT.
Do we have to talk about this? um,
About this, then there's something wrong. They really performed in a crazy race weekend like we
Yeah,
had.
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, well
no,
done to Albon. Well done, well done.
yeah, yeah. Well done to Albon. The other guy, though, the other guy.
Hey, listen. Did you know that that other guy is now 20th in the championship? He's not 21st anymore. So we got to give him that.
Oh wow! See, did you see how shocked he was to be in Q3? He was so shocked. It's like, wow, like,
But
where
looking,
am I? You're supposed to
yeah,
be there.
but if I'm not mistaken, I think Williams did well last year there as well. So I feel like that track is genuinely for them. It's the reality is that Williams is a fast car when there's straights, when there's
Yeah.
more straights, when there's so
Yeah.
I think they were supposed to do well. If I'm really honest with you, I think I loved Albon this weekend. He had a couple moments where I just laughed at him. He was quite funny. Was quite cheeky at times as well. But he was also quite honest at times as well. But it was a nice feeling around the team. I think I still have hope for them. I'm still rooting for Vels to change it around for a big name like Williams, because let's be honest, we all need to sit and support a name like Williams to try and turn it around, because if not, they might as well just leave the sport. I mean, like it's getting a bit stale now. So we need a team like Williams to sort of like turn things around. I'm rooting for Vels to do it. This race was a great one, but in all fairness, I'm not going to talk too much more about it, because if I'm really honest with you, it's a one-off for me. I don't see it happening again until we have a race similar to this where it's just straights all over the place. So
Yeah.
I can maybe think, I don't know, Mexico has got nice long straights. Vegas has a nice long stretch, doesn't it? I don't see them doing this many times this year. So I mean, Albon got some good points. Cool, he came 11th, Sergeant, but like the reality is, like, if this is the best track and he can't get points, he's never gonna get points. I mean, that's just reality. So but before we do move on to another team. I just want to, we gave them a bit of stick last week, and I just want to say that I do want to give it up to Aston Martin. They were quite anonymous, but they ended up in the points.
Yes.
They did pretty well. And guys, I know we do joke about it a lot, but Stroll, I don't know if it's, I don't know if Alonso is doing it on purpose to make Stroll look good, because you never know. You never know what Alonso is willing to do for daddy's money.
Like, Graham, can I ask you a question about Stroll?
Yeah.
Like, what do you see? Like, what do you see? I would like to know.
No, well, at this moment, I don't see anything. But what I'm seeing is that he's beating Alonso a couple races in a row now, and that's what I'm seeing. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if Alonso's doing it on purpose or what, but Stroll's been having a slightly good run so far. He's not had the worst year. And if you talk about Aramco saying he needs to leave if he doesn't perform, he's not underperforming. If you consider the car he's in, if you consider who's he's driving against, he's not underperforming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what I saw in him in the past was just his past, which I guess up until now I've got to say, yeah, I've probably been proven wrong, which is fair. I'm happy to admit that. But he beat George Russell in F3, in GP3, F3. What do you call it? F3, yeah. He beat George Russell in F3. I think who else was in there? Lando was there. Alex Albon was there. He beat them to F3 championship. He was in the Ferrari Academy. Oh my goodness, he was in the Ferrari Academy. Imagine him racing with Charles Leclerc. Jeez, that team would be broken.
That is the day I burn this hat.
All I'm saying, all I'm saying is that he's had a really good career for somebody who follows daddy's money. He's had a good career up until Formula One, and in Formula One, he has had some good seasons. He's had some really good showings, specifically in wet weather racing. He's pretty good in wet weather racing. I definitely see a lot of potential in him somewhere, but I personally just think he's got a lack of motivation, because he's got nothing to motivate him. His dad's just going to be there to give him everything anyways. But that to me is not good enough, because why are you there if you don't want to win? Why are you there if you're not trying to win? Why are you there if you're not pushing for the win? So yeah, I'm happy to be proven wrong about him. I don't see anything at this point in time. All I'm saying is he's not underperforming if you consider the car and where Alonso is currently. So again, you know, I'm not one for conspiracies, but you never know if daddy is paying extra under the table, because
maybe Alonso, or maybe Alonso's the one that's demotivated.
Yeah, possibly.
That's actually what I just wanted to mention. I mean, Alonso's one of those drivers where I don't care how old he gets, he will never get away from any type of steering wheel. He's a born to race racer. He loves it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Alonso made it very clear in a bunch of interviews when he came out of retirement, where he said, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I really want to win one more championship. And, you know, Aston Martin looked so great last year. And this year, it's like such a decline. And just to get back to Stroll, look, I know I give the guy a lot of crap. I will admit I give the guy a lot of stick. But Stroll has got something special when it's changing conditions or a wet race. He's strong. I will give him that. The thing for me, just with Lance Stroll, always is he goes into like a little bit of an upper echelon of performance, and then you think, like, you know, maybe finally he's starting to get it. Maybe he's finally starting to not be a window licker. And then comes a race where he finishes 2 laps behind the Williams and the Kick Saubers, and you're just like, but Alonso had a P7. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So that's just the thing for Stroll for me. He's never consistently been. It's a massive high and then 7 races of, you know, being knocked out in Q1, being beaten by rookies and crappy cars. That's just the thing for me about Stroll. Yeah. So for me, it's just they keep saying that F1 needs to be a sport that you can't buy your way into anymore. But Stroll is literally the exact example of that. His dad bought a whole team to make sure he stays in F1.
To be fair, Perez is also buying his way into the sport, because even though he's got a paid contract, he also brings the team a lot of money. So Um, I'm just saying, but okay.
Yeah, but he proved himself when he was younger,
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least.
of course,
And I'm
of
not
course,
saying,
of course. Ah,
but I'm not saying Lance didn't. But you can't compare Lance to some of the
yeah.
other drivers when it comes to actual achievements in the lower rankings. And Graham, this is actually factual. You can go search this up. And I'm not trying to bank on the guy, but F2 and F3 as a feature series, all the cars are equal. The only difference is the way they are set up, right? There were literally there was proof found that Lawrence Stroll paid Kramer Racing to put upgrades on Stroll's F3 car. He only beat Russell because that car was faster. He needed upgrades to beat that. And if you guys don't believe me, I will send you video proof.
To be honest, I don't care enough for you to send it to me, but I didn't know that. I'll take your word for it, but I didn't know that. But
That's a
yeah,
fact. That's
but like
a fact.
the point is, he still had to win a championship, and that still takes mentality. I mean, Logan Sargent, for example, has never come second even in anything. Really, he hasn't won anything ever. I don't even know how he's in the F1 in the first place. Like, he's really good. Like, with all due respect, in the lower rankings, he was really good. He was extremely rapid, very quick, fighting some big names. So fair play to him. But he's never won anything, So it's like, how does he even get to a point where he's won nothing? But then you look at Stroll and you're like, okay, I mean, fair enough. He's at least won something. You know what I mean? He's at least won championships in some way or form or another. But okay, I didn't know that. But I mean, I don't care enough for you to send me something. Maybe I'll go and research it later just to check. But because that's news to me. But still, I just, again, I don't think it really matters, guys. I mean, I'm happy to be proven wrong with him. I gave him a lot of my backing in a way. But you know, it is what it is, man. Like he's just not been it, but he has been doing okay the last couple of races, and I've got to give it to him. I really have to give it to him. That's it. But yeah, I don't expect it to last. I'll be honest, but let's see.
Because it's never been any other way.
Anyway.
But gents, before we leave, let's get to this part of the show that you guys wait for me to forget every week, and I'm never going to forget it again. Okay. Probably the best race of the season for me personally, it was. BT, your rating for the British Grand Prix.
10 out of 10, dude.
Wow, jeez. Just
But I did say, I did say in the group before, the race started, like, guys, are you ready for the race of the season? And it was the race of the season.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Look, guys. Honestly, I said Canada was best, and I gave that a 9 out of 10. This is definitely far better, so I have to give it a 10 out of 10. Quite frankly, this race had everything. It had action, it had changing weather, it had strategy, it had blunders, it had tears, it had laughter, it had alles, it had everything, and there's just nothing better. Silverstone didn't disappoint. They never really disappoint, but this was just another level of crazy. This race, this was just beautiful. So well done, Silverstone, for giving us that lovely bit of Formula One. And to be honest, guys, again, I think things are about to kick off, and I think that F1 is back. I really do.
No, I completely agree with you, Graham. Look, I've got a massive soft spot for Silverstone. I've always loved this race ever since I started watching F1. It's just always a good race around there, whether it's bone dry or whether it's conditions like this. It's never a boring race around Silverstone. Yeah. And me as well, guys. It's all around the table. It's a 10 out of 10. This for me so far. I don't think another race will top this. I think this is going to be the race of the season.
Yeah.
I love every second of that race, from green flag to
don't get me wrong. I hope for more of these, but it's going to be tough to top. Yeah, I hope for more, but it's going to be tough to stop. By the way, I just saw my message from Toto. He says he accepts your apology, Dirk. You okay.
Thank you, Mr. Aru.
Jeez, like, what was that?
His surname is Wolf. You have to
Yes,
howl
Toto
like that.
yes, Dirk. I know, Dirk. Oh my goodness, that was. Yeah.
Yes, everybody on the podcast for our freaking well, all of a sudden a few hundred viewers, they know me as the quirky one, so it is all good. But ladies and gentlemen, in the break at the Apex audience, thank you so much for joining us. There is still so much that we can talk about, but make sure to talk with us in the comments down below. We will reply to you guys, and let's just keep the conversation flowing. While you're down there, don't forget to drop a like down below on this video, and if you have not yet subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe down below, and don't forget to ding that bell.
Yo, that high
BT,
pitch,
it's
eh?
been having BT, it's been great to have you back. We missed you last week, and I think the rest of the season is going to be banger. BT, your final thoughts?
Congratulations to Hamilton. Do not forget, you going to Ferrari is not a mistake. Some turbulence are happening. Not a
Oh,
mistake.
mate,
Don't worry
that's a
about it.
conversation we'll have another day. I've been hearing people saying stupid things, man. I'm just like, why? Like, why would he regret it? Don't be stupid, man. Like, just because he won, now he's regretting going to Ferrari. It's Ferrari,
you know
guys.
The internet, bro.
Yo, bro.
You know how
Anyway.
the internet is.
Jeez. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Okay. Anyhow.
Graham, final thoughts?
My final thoughts. Nope, don't really have any. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. We went from sort of like 6 subscribers or 6 people watching to like 100 people watching. So I just want to really say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for watching. And I hope to see more of you. That would be great. Call your friends, tell your friends to watch, tell them all about us. We'll bring you some really good fun content. And honestly, that's what we're here for. So thank you so much. And yeah, that's all from me.
Guys, final thoughts. Just stay tuned for the rest of the season. It's going to be good. Cheers, everyone.
Lovely stuff.